Ladies and gentlemen, with that, let us proceed to the Q&A session, for which we are joined by our executive panel of senior BOI officials representing all critical functional areas within the BOI. For this discussion, we have selected questions that we received from our audience via the registration portal, as well as the questions we received today through our chat box. To begin the session, our first question for the day. How long is allowed for a company to implement the project before commencing operations, and how does the BOI facilitate to fast-track the implementation process? What happens if the implementation period exceeds the time allowed by the agreement?
Once the agreement is signed, automatically the project implementation department of the BOI will activate the function. My officials instantly contact you, the investors, to speedy implementation the process. If there is an issue with the other agencies as well, with the lineage like CEB, whatever the Sri Lankan agencies, my department people actively engage with the department's the investor to fulfill the requirement. Usually, depending on the project, the project implementation period may vary with 6 months to 2 years. If the project is performing well, we are bound to give extensions, no matter. At most of the projects which I have handled during this period, at the moment also my department handled more than 150 projects. We always give the extension to complete the project. No hesitations. You will get the extension to complete the project. If there is any issues with the line agencies, BOI will actively engage with the project to overcome those issues. Thank you. Is there any other issue?
No, thank you, sir. Our next question is, what are the latest details on the infrastructure development position in the upcoming zones?
So, in upcoming zones, of course, we are happy to say about this pharmaceutical zone and textile manufacturing zone in the east. We have already started infrastructure developments. In the pharmaceutical zone, so we have started access road and water supply. So then water supply has been provided up to the boundary, so then anyone can start construction. Even the power supply also up to the boundary, and access road is being constructed now, because this zone is going to be considered either by the developer to developer, so then they can develop the roads even according to their wish. And so we will develop up to part of the inland side, and then they will be in a position to complete the rest of the developments. With regard to the Raur fabric manufacturing zone, so we have already completed seawater outfall. That is where we will be in a position to discharge around 15,000 of meter cubes at the phase 1 after the treatment, after the standards. Is an exclusive facility, because that's why actually we have selected this land at the downstream of river with very good water supply. At the initial stage, we have 3,000 meter cubes of water right now, and 10 MVA power supply. And then by the mid part of next year, we will be in a position to get another 7,500 meter cubes dedicated water supply. And depending on the demand, so we will be increasing the power supply also. And then with regard to the access road, so we have constructed access road up to the zone is about 1.5 kilometers from the main access. That is being connected to the port and also the highway network of the country. So then anyone can immediately start constructions there, because we have provided all the basic infrastructure to start constructions. In addition to that, there will be two other zones. One is very close to Colombo, that is IT Park. We have started basic works to get the road connectivity and the water supply connectivity and power connectivity for 120 IT Park land in that area. And there will be another one in Kandy. So then again IT zone. So it's about 25 acre land. So these are the positions. So then we are very happy to say BOI is ready with basic infrastructure, so that anyone can start their constructions immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next question. In what capacity does the BOI assist investors once business is set up in Sri Lanka? Could you briefly explain about import-export facilitation work carried out by the BOI?
Investor Services Department is providing aftercare services to the investors. Especially, we are providing import-export customs, processing and authorizing activities and cargo inspection. That means verification activities. For this purpose, our entire documentation process is automated and connected with RCVL system which is maintained by Sri Lanka Customs. Normally, we are providing 24 services to the investors. In order to provide the quality and speedy services to the investors, we have set up our documentation and verification centers at Katunaka Export Processing Zone, Koggala Export Processing Zone, Biyagama Export Processing Zone, Pallekale Export Processing Zone, and Mass Park. And especially, we have set up 2 documentation and verification centers at Cargo Terminal at Katunaka Airport and Central Verification Terminal at Orugodavatha.
Next question. Are the current economic Are the current economic or business climate and US dollar crisis in Sri Lanka conducive to attract FDI? If yes, what are the key prospective sectors and what are the special arrangements made to facilitate and protect such investments?
Thank you for that question. I think it's a timely one. In terms of the how well we are geared towards that and what are the current, is it conducive to come to Sri Lanka? I think globally all industries and countries are going through very challenging times. Sri Lanka itself, this is not the first time we have faced difficult economic conditions. As you may be aware, we have been through a long protracted war which we have been able to overcome. We have battled through tsunamis and the recent pandemic, but we have been resilient and we have overcome at all times. And I think I should share with you that up to date, we have had over 60 applications that have come into the BOI, which are not only greenfield ones, but expansions as well. So that, I think, would show the confidence that investors have in this country and the plans they have for their expansions. If you look at the same period last year, this year we have had a 14% increase in our applications. So I think that says a lot for the activities we do here. In terms of special arrangements, well, once you sign up with the BOI, the agreement is valid for the lifetime of the project. And if you may recall, as I said in my presentation, your investment is guaranteed by none less than the constitution of our country itself. So you have also asked whether with the dollar crisis, I mean, is it conducive? I think your dollar would go a longer way now in terms of paying wages and in terms of setting up your operations in Sri Lanka. So yes, I think this is the best time. I mean, crisis brings opportunities. So make use of those opportunities that have been made available and take advantage of the depreciation of the rupee. It may not be good for us, but it is good for you as a foreign investor. So do look at Sri Lanka very carefully and take a judgment call on that.
Thank you, Madam. Next question. What is the procedure for obtaining long-term business visa, work visa and residence visa for BOI companies?
Visa facility is one of the main incentive offered by the BOI for a BOI registered companies. So this facility is available for the investors, directors, senior management and as well as expatriate workers. Right. We have simplified systems. We have an online system linked with the company and the BOI. So the first process is the the entry visa applications, then followed by the resident visa, then the if necessary for extension visa. Our visa period is started from the 1 to 5 years. Now recently we started the offered and launched the long-term visa for investors subject to certain conditions. So 5 years we offer for investors for under long-term visa facility. And also CEOs, top level management, they also get another visa facility after 2 years. Other workers, we get the 1 year visa facility. And this, the process is very simplified. Only the company get the facilitation password from the BOI online system. They can apply. Within 2 weeks times, we do our homework for the visa requirements. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next question. What are the facilities provided by the BOI for a company set up inside a BOI zone?
Yeah, in a zone, we have two sides of facilitation. One is, of course, reliable infrastructure. With regard to reliable infrastructure, we will provide dedicated power supply, so there is no disturbance, 24 hours power supply is there. And then reliable water supply, that is also exclusive for zone, so there won't be any interruption or any disturbance in water supply. And then centralized wastewater treatment, so this is actually exclusive for all the zones. So then all the treated effluents by chemicals, so will be discharged into the common wastewater treatment plant, and then that will be taken over the BOI. Our BOI team treat up to the standards and discharge. So then with that only, of course, we will be in a position to get even environment protection license also for the zone. That will be a valid document even for the investors to comply with their requirements, bias requirements. And then we have all other infrastructure facilities to satisfy investors in a conducive environment. Other side of facilities is social infrastructure. How we look at our workers, our employees, how we look after them. So we have medical centers with doctors and 24 hours nursing services and PHIs to look after the premises and the facilities, even childcare centers, because we know during the daytime, so sometimes it's difficult to keep their children and come to work in the factory. So we take the responsibility and then keep their children in their daycare centers, and then the employees are in a position to take their children after their working time is over. In addition to that, we have banks and cargo services, insurances, all the services which can be obtained in the conducive environment of a zone, so there won't be any disturbance from outsiders, because it's a dedicated area, custom bonded area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next question. What are the investment criteria, concessions, and incentives available for investments in manufacturing sector?
It's a good question. For the manufacturing sector, the investment criteria is $500,000. So we can consider the concessions offered for the export manufacturing companies as that 14% corporate income tax will be offered. In addition to that, they can import their project-related items, capital goods, raw material, and construction materials on duty-free basis for the lifetime of the project. Also, the VAT deferment facility will be offered, and in addition to that, it will be offered 5 to 10 years tax holiday for the SDP projects, strategic development projects. So investment is over $10 million. So I think that this is depend on the investment criteria and the employment. For instance, there is a fabric park in Eraur. So one potential company is offered 10 tax holiday, and this 10-year tax holiday is based on their investment and the employment capacity. investment is 35 US dollar million and the employment capacity is over 400 employees. In addition to that, it is offered enhanced capital allowance from 100% to 150%. This is in addition to the normal depreciation allowance. In the northern province, it will be offered up to 200%. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next question. How to find suitable land in Sri Lanka and what is the process for a foreign investor to obtain land to set up a business in Sri Lanka?
In Sri Lanka, there are three kinds of lands available for prospective investment projects. Basically, BOI owned lands and the government owned lands and the private lands. In the BOI owned lands, in certain zones we have already developed the infrastructure and the lands would be made available on long-term lease basis. And also the government lands, the government corporation owned lands, the BOI is in a position to facilitate obtaining those lands on long-term lease basis, again for foreign investors. And also there are private lands up to 50 acres. The privately owned lands are also available for investment projects. BOI is in a position to facilitate those transactions as well if prospective investors are searching for private lands. In any of the cases, the lands could be made available on long-term lease basis only for foreigners. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next question. How to find the required skilled labor from Sri Lanka required for a company? What is the general cost of labor and utilities?
As our Director General already explained, we have high literacy rate. We have high literacy rate in Asian region. Also, we have highly trainable and well-educated workforce. And for any investor can obtain a labor requirement through open market at competitive ways. And in addition to that, they can recruit employees through our zonal as well as online job banks. And in addition to that, for the supply of skilled labor for BOI enterprises, we are closely working with NITA, that is National Apprentice and Industrial Training Authority of Sri Lanka, and Vocational Training Authority to provide skilled labor for the BOI enterprises. And considering the cost of labor, as per the Minimum Wages Act of Sri Lanka, the minimum wages is 16,000 LKR, and this is equivalent to 44 US dollars. So, but in export processing zones, the minimum wages ranges from 44 US dollars to 62 US dollars. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. I think we have time for 2 more questions. So let's go to the next question. How long does it take for foreign investors to set up a BOI company?
Foreign investor looking at set up a company in Sri Lanka. So firstly, they have to retain a secretarial firm, because there are many secretarial firms as well as individual secretaries to do the task. So then thereafter So they have to submit all the details to draft the articles for the purpose of incorporation a company in Sri Lanka. So simultaneously they can submit an application to the BOI to begin the process. So after that, once the company draft articles is done, so BOI will give the preliminary approval to go ahead with the incorporation. So thereafter, the letter of approval to be issued in terms of the articles of association and the application submitted to the BOI. So it will take 1 month's time to sign the agreement. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Our last question for today would be, how can we bring the foreign money into Sri Lanka to be used as capital prior to incorporating the company in Sri Lanka?
Yes, thank you very much for participating in this webinar and raising a very valuable question. And being a foreign investor who has the interest in investing in Sri Lanka, what you can first do is to open an inward investment account, which we call IIA, in a commercial bank of Sri Lanka or a Sri Lankan bank agent in your respective countries. And with this bank account, you can do the required capital transactions. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. We would like to thank our audience for sending us a lot of questions. However, due to time constraints, we are unable to answer all the questions during the webinar. But we assure you that we have all your questions and that during the next couple of days, a BOI official will reach out to you with a response to your inquiry. Should you have any more questions, you can reach out to us at our email address promotion@boi.lk. And for more information, please visit our website www.investsrilanka.lk. With that, we conclude the Q&A session.